Welcome, Pacers fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for this week's Pacers Report with Mike Rich. We are also joined by Will Retherford and Mike Hutsell to review the 2026 season very quickly and mostly look ahead to what's probably the most important offseason in franchise history. And Mike, you kick us off. Describe the 25-26 season.
I'm done. No, it was disappointing as a fan, but also knowing, the opportunity as well. As bad as it was, we have an opportunity to be in a really good position next year. I mean, we have Zubats coming back. We'll have Tyrese Halliburton coming back, Pascal Siakam, Nesmith, Nembhard, and then hopefully one of these top four picks. As the season started, I think we all sat there and did our preseason picks, and some of us picked probably over 50 games with that team. I was a little more pessimistic, and then as the season went on and injuries started kind of adding up, there was a point probably early in the first half, I was like, this team's not going to win 20 games this year. We go from the second best team in the NBA a year before to the second worst team in the NBA all in 1 year. But then we can be right back in top 2, top 1 next year. It was a great opportunity for a lot of the younger players. I really had a lot of opportunity to develop. The rookies got a lot of playing time, a lot of starting time for Jarris Walker. The evolution of Jarris Walker over this year was pretty significant and pretty important for what we're going to do next year. Sum it up, 19. I'm happy it's over and looking forward to May 10th and completely optimistic about next year. I think even without a top 4 pick, they're top 14.
I'll forget this season even happened. We'll just skip over from the 24-25 Pacers to the 26-27 Pacers.
I think that's how it's going to work in our memories, Mike.
I think that's exactly how it's going to work. I mean, we're going to forget this season. And the only thing we're going to remember about this season is what the outcome of May 10th is.
I was going to say, it's possible we could look back on this season as, oddly enough, one of the most successful in franchise history if they had one of these guys that we're all pining for right now. Obviously, to me, it's still Debanza and everyone else, but Caleb Wilson, Boozer, Kingston Flemings, if you had any of these guys in the top 4, we're going to look back pretty fondly, and we'll laugh about this season. 19 wins, and I think they played 22 players over the course of the season. Who's going to be back next year? Who knows? I don't think we're long for the Jalen Slauson era of Pacers basketball. I mean, they could go into next season one of the top 3 teams in the East very easily, even if they don't get one of these top 4 picks. If they get one of these top 4 picks, you're probably potentially going in as the Eastern Conference favorite. This is how Oklahoma City did it. They had bad season, and they stacked up, and they got Chet, and they got Jalen Williams, and they got all these guys and all these picks, and now they're probably going to win their second title in a row. It's tough to say when you were 24 minutes from a title last year that a 19-win season was a success, but we could very well look back on it as one of the best seasons the Pacers ever had because they could add a player that realistically they never have an opportunity to add any other way.
And as great as Reggie Miller was, as great as Tyrese Halliburton is at this point, they've never had what you would call a franchise player. Never had a first-team All-NBA player. And I'm not saying any of these guys are necessarily going to be, but when's the last time the Pacers had a chance to have Patrick Ewing? The last time they had a chance at a guy like this?
Mm-hmm. The Pacers have never had the opportunity to do it in the draft. You're absolutely right. But for the Pacers to pull it off, they have to pull it off by trade. And I think they've done it twice by trade. in my lifetime. One was Jermaine O'Neal, and they had to give up a franchise cornerstone, and one was Tyrese Halliburton, and they had to give up a franchise cornerstone to make both of those happen. I mean, this is a chance to just have a bad season, and now you can add a potentially transcendent player to the roster.
I think now you just got to hope that it happens. I still am hesitant, but your hope is that they can do so. I really think outside of Peterson, I think any of the other 3-4 options are probably immediately make this team, like Hutsell said, best team in the East, top 2 team in the entire league. I mean, am I wrong in that analysis, or are you guys seeing it somewhere else?
I don't see a deeper team in the East if they add AJ DeBanza to the guys that Mike's already listed, with Halliburton coming back and Siakam, and if Zubats is as good as we think he can be, if I even said his name correctly, I apologize if I didn't. You had with Jarris making a little bit of a leap, or now you can look at trading Neesmith, and then you can start stacking picks or adding size to the front court to back up I mean, the options that are going to be at this team's available for this team if they can hold on to this pick are just absurd.
I like the trade still. With the development of Flemings, I kind of hate that they lost, because even at 5, you're going to get a really good player. And by the way, even if they don't, they're still going to be really good. I think even if they don't get one of those guys, the kind of guy you're talking about at the end of the bench that you're cutting are really good players. Guys that you would then be able to keep are still really good players. I think Jay Huff's a pretty good second-string center. I think Ben Shepherd's a serviceable NBA player. And if they add a guy in the offseason, from the main core, who's not going to be around next year?
I can see TJ possibly being moved.
That just made me sad.
They just moved his sister here. You think they're going to move TJ out? Come on.
Way to bring the mood down, Hutsell.
Because I don't ever want to hear you sing again.
I think Quentin Jackson possibly, and I like Quentin Jackson, but maybe Jarris Walker. I think there's an opportunity to trade Walker for some draft capital. I wouldn't trade McConnell, but I'm not Kevin Pritchard, and he makes good decisions when it comes to trading.
I'm not sold on Walker. I think the guy who's definitely gone is Ben Shepherd. I don't see a spot.
I would agree with that.
Outside of that, they have absolutely no free agents of note. So
that's right.
I'm curious.
They have a top 4 pick, though.
But we're talking about Talon Peter not making the roster. I feel Cam Jones, depending on who they get, could be potential trade bait. I really liked that pick in the second round last year, but I'm not really sure that there's really a spot for him, to be honest with you. They're pretty stacked up there at that shooting guard / small forward position. He's not really big enough to be a 3, and I don't necessarily see him as a point guard. So I don't know. I'm just May 10th at this point. Really, the only thing I'm focused on as a Pacers fan, just hoping they can get the pick that really they deserve. They have played in this league for 50 years ethically. They've done everything the right way. They've been above the board. They've taken care of stars who have been disgruntled and wanted out. They've just done it right. If any team has ever deserved an opportunity to get one of these franchise-changing players, it's the Indiana Pacers.
I've got a hypothetical
that
I just want to throw out, Greg. What about you land 4, the guys you want are gone. Somebody takes DeBanza, somebody takes Boozer, somebody takes Wilson. You take Flemings or Acuff. Could you trade Nembhard?
What about Peterson?
That guy just doesn't seem to enjoy basketball. There's just
that guy's good though.
He's good.
He is a phenomenal basketball player.
He's going to make you a Hall of Fame GM, or you are going to lose your job because of that guy.
Yeah,
it's one or the other. He Ben Simmons there for me. He just does not seem to care.
The answer is yes. If it gets a better return for a better team, I'll trade anybody, and that includes Tyrese Halliburton. I'll trade you, Tyrese, right now for a championship. You hear that?
But Tyrese isn't going anywhere.
I understand. I'm just saying the answer for me is yes.
I know it's going to probably be unpopular. I don't think you can trade him hard. I think he is as close to untouchable with his contract and the role he plays on this team as possible, because he gives you the flexibility to not make Tyrese Halliburton guard the other team's best guard. That's Andrew Nembhard. He is one of those guys that, and honestly, I think Aaron Nesmith is as close to untouchable too, because I just think the role they play, you are not going to get Darren Peterson that will fill in for the role that an Aaron Nesmith plays on a championship team. They don't make him like Nesmith. He's just a gritty ball player. And that's the issue with this team, is that you talk about these guys and the moves they have to make, but I'm not sure adding more star power and getting rid of the sandpaper that made this team what it is actually going to get them any closer to championship.
That's a really fair point. I don't necessarily disagree with you. This is one of those,
right.
Some is, greater than the, so whatever. I don't know the old man saying, even though I watched George Michael's Sports Machine, I should know.
Yes, you did.
I should know my boomer statements, but I don't.
Half of this audience has no idea who George Michael is. They probably don't even know who George Michael the singer is.
I was going to say, they don't even know the George Michael that sang the Limp Bizkit song Faith. They don't even know who Limp Bizkit is. Let's be real.
That's right. By the way, Mike, you remember the night of the 2021 draft? I texted you. I really like the Pacers getting Mathurin and Kendall Brown, but I just thought that the Nembhard pick was a waste of a draft pick.
It's okay, Greg, because remember my response when Tyrese Halliburton became a Pacer was, does this cut into Darius Washington Jr.'s minutes?
Dwayne
sure. I was so concerned with him getting rotational minutes and how this Halliburton trade was going to affect it.
Man.
We all have tragic takes that we can't take back.
All right, guys, last question. What seed will the Pacers be a year from today?
I'll put them in the 2 spot. I'll go Boston. We'll reclaim the 1 spot. I think they'll move ahead of Detroit and New York for the 2 spot.
I think they're a 3 seed. This is a team that's not going to be as worried about the regular season. I think they'll be comfortable giving up a couple games to have their guys fully rested. I think Detroit's always going to be a regular season team. I don't think they're ever going to have the postseason success, because I don't think they have the grittiness that it takes to probably win deep in the postseason that I think the Pacers have. I think they're a top 3 team regardless of what happens with this pick.
Probably a 4 seed, but finish the season first and be in the finals next year. I think it'll take a little while for them to gel. I think Zubac's being in with Halliburton, Siakam, getting used to that rotation, figuring out where your role players are going to be coming off the bench. I think it'll be a slow start next year. I think they'll win of course, health is key. But I think they're definitely a top 4 team in the East, as is. With the players they have coming back, I think they're a top 4 team. If they add in the draft, they're going to be a tough team to beat in June.
They're going to be a fresh team, that's for sure. Not a lot of minutes played this year, except for Siakam.
Good rest, good balance this year. Halliburton's coming back bigger, hopefully stronger. I think some of his bigness came from the medication he's been on for the shingles. But hopefully he's a little more physical. Hopefully he keeps a little bit of that weight. He will. But if he can stay right around 200, 195, 200, I think he'll be good. He needed to bulk up a little bit.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much to my man Mike Rich, or as we knew him back in Spanish class, Miguel Rico, every Monday on the Pacers Report. And to Mike Hutsell, who you can hear Tuesday, late morning, early afternoon with his partner Grant Schaus on the IU Report, talking about the transfer portal with some big news for the Hoosiers on Monday. And thanks as well to my guy Will Rutherford. You can hear him with Paul Tipton on Tuesday on the MLB Report, and on Friday on Greg versus Will versus the World. Please go check out all of those podcasts, and those three are recurring guests on Greg and his friends talk sports every weekday afternoon. My friends and I are talking about whatever Central Indiana sports fans are talking about, whether it's the Pacers, Fever, Colts, IU, Purdue, IndyCar, local colleges, local high schools, or national sports. If Central Indiana sports fans are talking about it, so are my friends and I on Greg and his friends talk sports. Again, every weekday afternoon on the Central Indiana Sports Report Network. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.